Hello and welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix for MRL Club Division. Yet again, technical difficulties bring us to the world of YouTube rather than that of Twitch, but here we are at the Hungaroring for the final Hungarian Grand Prix of the week. We've had Tier 1, 2, Oceanic Division and EU. Now it is the Club Division turn. Qualifying has already been going underway for about 5 minutes, so there are already a few laps on the board here. Notably, Ben the Bears just crossed the line on 114 flat coming out of the Red Bull driver. And it's currently a dry qualifying. It's going to be a mostly dry race. I do believe that we are going to see a little bit of rain towards the end of the session. Freeway currently at the top of qualifying with a 1:13.3, which is 6/10 faster than Zamus, who is currently situated in second place in the Renault with a big slide into the pit lane. Just about saving that one. Joining me today, it's not Strifium, Yoda is here. A little bit, just to get a second recording. But looking at right now, no one on a flying lap, it would seem.
Yeah, hello everybody. I mean, it's going to be a new voice, mine, for all of you. Very unfamiliar.
Well, I don't think it'll be too unfamiliar if people are in the Discord. You're fairly active there, but in the commentary role, I take it this is your first time.
Ooh,
But
Ben just missed the pit entry. He's reversing. He reverses back and goes into the pit lane. Just lucky there wasn't any other cars behind.
I was going to say, stewards might take a look at that. Like you said, no one behind him.
Yeah.
So he hasn't slowed anyone's lap down.
looked
Absolutely domey. He's just rounding the final corner, ready to start another flying lap. His home Grand Prix, he won it in Tier 2 yesterday. Whether he'll have as successful a race here in Club Division, we'll have to wait and see. Coming down out of Turn 1. The second DRS straight bringing him down into Turn 2. This long left-hander which shoots out into the fast right-hander of Turn 3. Then down a little knock to the right. A fastest Sector 1 for the Hungarian through the fast Turn 4 where it's very difficult to overtake. Turn 5, the inside curve there. Very easy to spin the car through the chicane of 6 and 7. Now into the heart of Sector 2, these sort of flowing sections of 8, 9 and 10. Coming out of Turn 11 then. Down towards Turn 12, another fairly popular overtaking spot as Domi sets another fastest sector if the track map is to be believed. Around the penultimate corner then in the Williams. The final corner then for Domi. Currently the provisional pole is a 1:13.3 and Domi is 2/10 off there. He goes second fastest at 1:13.5 on the soft compound tyre.
It's a very good lap. It's still better than what he did yesterday in Tier 2.
Yeah, so I do believe he qualified on the mediums yesterday. Interesting that not too many of the front runners right now qualifying on the harder compound of tyre. Everyone in the top 8 right now on the softs, which do not last around the Hungaroring. As Tiana Seva coming out of the second sector seems to be up a fair chunk on his previous best time, coming into the last couple of corners then in the Haas. It's worth noting as well, Fraser serving a qualifying ban here as that's Shenjie. As Tiana Seva improves into 7th place. Shenjie though, he's hit the wall out of the final turn. No damage, I don't think, on the Alfa Romeo, but still not ideal for him.
Yeah, that lap is going to be a write-off for him.
Alex Biddo, yet to set a lap time, is now letting people pass on this flyer that he's invalidated previously in the Ferrari. So he's still got some work to do here with just over 8 minutes left in the session on our screens.
It's interesting. Some of the drivers, they do tend to invalidate their laps on purpose, so they can set a benchmark and then try going on the mediums for a good lap.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Alex Biddo is doing right now. He's invalidated and he's just trundled very slowly back into the pit lane, so not quite sure what's going through his mind at the moment.
We do have Seb on the lap now.
Yeah, Wisp and Seb flying through the first sector. Wisp coming out at 126.9 through there. Seb a 26.7. So Seb right now a little bit faster than the Racing Point ahead of him, at least through the first sector. A pair of them coming through sector 2 now. Seb just out of the chicane. Wisp through turn 11. Again, the track map goes purple for sector 2, but I believe that's a visual glitch through turn 12 then for the Racing Point. We'll have to see which one of these drivers is faster. Both qualifying right now on the medium compound of tyre. Wisp rounding the final corner. He's going to come across the line with a 1:15.6. What can Seb do on 1:15.1? So Seb 10th place, Wisp in 14th. Nico right now, he's flying as well, currently in 5th place, just ahead of his teammate Tiemann Sever. A 10th separate the two. Now he's flying through the second sector on a fresh set of tyres. Down through turns 10 and now 11 as the outside curve. Although 11 you can invalidate if you take too much of the outside curving there. As for the rest of the track, most of the track limits fairly set in stone. Let's look out. Rounds the final corner here. Can he improve on his 1:13.9, which is 4 tenths slower than Domi's current best? It's a 3.5 tenth improvement for the Australian, but he's still in 5th place for the time being. BTFU in the Williams. He's yet to set a time. He's currently on the medium compound tyres and is flying. Just coming out of turn 9 into 10. His teammate Domi, 4th place right now. We'll have to see what he's got up his sleeve as he rounds turn 12 down into 13. His teammate Domi is also flying just behind him, it would seem. But out of the final corner, DRS wide open. It's going to be a 1:14.8 from BTFU for his opening lap. That puts him 9th place. His teammate into the pit lane.
There's some drivers that seem to want to commit to the mediums, and that would be BT. It seems that ZZ9 has also went out on the mediums, and Alex Biddo as well.
Yeah, the medium's super strong to qualify on around Tier. It depends, obviously, on safety cars, especially in the early and opening few laps, as to whether they play a role. As Ben the Bear is now a 1:12.9 up at the top of the leaderboard. I think that is very much delayed, though, as to when he set that. Alex Biddo crosses the line at 1:14.7, but he broke on the line. So whether he's sandbagging there to try and improve on that one later. Either way, 1:14.7 on mediums. A fairly impressive time for the Ferrari driver. ZZ9, a 1:14.1 on the mediums. Ben, he's about to start his next flying lap. He's approaching the penultimate turn, going very slowly right now.
Seems like he's really trying to cool down those tires. We want these softs to be as cold as possible. Well, not too cold, but you want them to be nice and cool for the lap, as this track is very, very hard on those tires. By the time they get to sector 3, they're just blisteringly hot.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why we see a few drivers right now on those medium compound tyres, because they last so much longer in the race, but still the top drivers qualifying on the red walled rubber. And it's Ben flying through sector 2 now, coming out of turn 5. He's plagued by the rev glitch from me, but will soldier on with his onboard. The Red Bull now out of the chicane into the rest of sector 2 through turn 9 into 10. There's 11 keeping it nice and tidy. He's up on his previous best by almost 2/10, and he's already 2/10 clear of Freeware, his closest rival right now. Freeware, Zamas and Domi all on outlaps in 2nd through 4th. That's Ben rounding the final corner, using as much exit curve as he can. It's a 112.6, and that's a 3/10 improvement.
That's a very, very good lap.
Absolutely incredible from Ben the Bear. Zamus, he's just started his flyer. Can he answer what Ben has just put down? He's currently sitting on 113.3, so he's about 7/10 off of Ben's time. Down into the 2nd sector. Zamus' teammate, that's Seb, he's into the wall out of turn 3. Alex Biddo, he's just retired from the session. I do believe that's in the pit lane. He is in 11th place, so he will get free charge race regardless of if anyone beats him or not. But Zamas taking a little bit too much curb, unsettling the car just a tad through the 2nd corner of the chicane. You can see Tim and Sever up ahead, just weaving off the course to get out of Zamas' way here down towards turn 12 for the Renault. Into the penultimate corner. Last but not least, turn 14. Zamas has got a 112.6 to beat. If he wants pole, it's not going to be pole. It's a 113.4, and it's actually slower by about 1/10 than his previous best lap time. Can Freeware? He improves, but not enough to dethrone Ben the Bear. 113.1 for the AlphaTauri driver. Domi's flying as well. I saw a few of the drivers behind him, including the 2 Haas drivers. They've just started flying laps.
ZZ9 also retired. It seems that he has committed to those mediums.
Domi then.
He will be really dangerous in the race for the soft runners ahead of him.
Domi improves.
It will only take 3 or 4 laps for the mediums to come into life and be faster than the softs.
Yeah, the only thing that really saved the soft runners from that would be an early safety car, but even then, the mediums are just so powerful. We saw Domi qualify them, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday in the EU grid, not the EU, the Tier 2 grid, and he was qualified down in 7th, and he still won that race just because of tyre strategy, and obviously raw pace helps as well. Mick Out stays in 6th place for the time being after crossing the line. His teammate Tim and Sever stays in the same place again, but he's been knocked down a place by Mito, qualifying with a 113.8 in the McLaren. As for other flyers, I do believe we're pretty much finished. Swifty coming into the pit lane. He might be the last person who hasn't finished this session.
Yeah, it does seem that we have our grid for the race.
Indeed, and it's Ben the Bear on pole position, I think, if That was to be believed, and what a time it was to set him up at the top of that grid. There we are then, Ben the Bear on pole position by almost half a second. Freeware joining him on the front row. Then we have Shenjie, Domi, Zamus, Mikau, Mito, Tim and Seva, ZZ9 in 9th qualified on the medium compound tyres, and running out the top 10 is Burke in the McLaren. Outside the top 10, all of those with the free tyre choice. We've got Remco Van Putten, Money, Alex Bido, Wisp, BTFU, City J, Seb, Jake, Finn, and serving a qualifying ban with no time is Fraser in last place. So only ZZ9 qualifying on the mediums in the top 10, Yoda. What do you think is going to happen with all of these soft runners in the top 10? Do you think their pace is going to be good enough to hold them off?
Well, unless they get an early safety car like we did in Tier 1 yesterday, I don't think they have much of a chance in fighting ZZ9, as I think he does have the pace to match, and he will be a big, big danger to everyone in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got to make sure he gets through turns 1 and 2 cleanly, because if he suffers wing damage, it makes all of that qualifying effort pretty much redundant. So he just needs to bide his time, wait for those tyres to kick in, like you said, 3 or 4 laps into this race. These soft runners probably going to be pitting not too long after that as well. So
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
they will try and extend them a little bit, but the mediums are just so much more powerful.
Yeah, usually we start to see people come in around lap 6 or 7. Whether we'll see a predicted pit stop strategy pop up on screen for us, we'll have to see. But here we go then. There is the grid, and looking at the tyre choices for those outside the top 10, it is indeed a sea of mediums and hards. You've got Remco and Money on the mediums. I have to watch out for them. Also, Alex Bido, he qualified 13th. He's on the hards.
Going on those hards is very interesting. It can really make or break your race, because all you need to do with going on those hards is not get damage in the first couple of corners, first couple of laps, keep it clean. And if he manages to do that, I think he'll be looking at a very good result today.
Yeah, and 13th as well. It's not too far behind, especially given that those soft runners are going to have to come in early here, or much earlier than him at least. You know, we have seen the softer hard strategy, so we might see Alex Bido, depending on how safety cars play out and such, we might see him able to go for a hard to soft strategy. I don't know if we've seen that yet. I don't believe we have.
Yeah, but didn't you tell me earlier that we're gonna have rain towards the end of the race? And that could really play,
that is very true.
That could really play into the hard runners' hands here.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the weather forecast. Yeah, we do in fact have rain forecast for the end of the race. I don't know what sort of time frame we've got, whether it's the last 5 laps, whether it's the last 10, etc. But rain towards the end of this race, that can make things very interesting. And Alex Bido could not pit up until he needs intermediate tyres. That could be a very interesting factor. Suti, Seb, and Fraser all on the hards as well. Everyone else outside the top 10 on the mediums, as Ben gets ready to join this grid. He's rounding the final corner. The AI should be in control of that Red Bull. And we just have to wait for everyone to form up on their grid positions, and we can get ready for the final Hungarian Grand Prix of the week. Jake there seems to have been left behind a little bit. He's just taking his spot up in 18th position. There we go. You can see all the cars shifting in position. We're getting ready to go racing here in Austria. The revs are high for the drivers. The lights are out, but not for the drivers. There they go. We are away then for the Hungarian Grand Prix. The timing tower putting out a massive pack of lives, it seems. Shenjie's had an excellent start. Freeware as well. He's already up the inside of Ben the Bear, down in towards turn 1. Shenjie on the inside. Domi having a look to see if he can sneak round past him. Down behind them. Cars 3 wide down towards turn 2. The timing tower not being very useful at all, however. ZZ9 as Alex Bido goes past Money after he's had a little bit of contact with Burke. Up at the front of this grid though is still Ben the Bear, who leads. Freeware in second, Shenjie in third, and Domi in fourth. So no positional swaps up at the front of this grid.
We do have Remco in P7 on those mediums.
Ooh, and
That is very interesting.
DTFU and Finn seem to have come together with chicane. Not quite sure what happened between the two of them, but like you said, Remco Van Putten up 4 places, still under a little bit of pressure from Mito, who was the last person he overtook, who started this grid in 7th. We also have Mikau, he's past Zamus for P5. Then Alex Bedo, he's already up 2 places on those hard compound tyres into 11th place. So we'll have to see how he can play into the end result of this race.
Finn just dove into the pits and he does have some front wing damage, it seems. There must have been some sort of contact with BTFU.
Indeed, up at the front. Domi still behind Shenjie. Ben the Bear already bringing out a little bit of a lead to Freeware. 6/10 separate the two right now. As the timing starts still trying to play a few mind games with us. Mito already picking up a 3-second time penalty. Given that they're in the early parts of the sector, I wonder if he's just running wide through turn 4 as his teammate Burke is pointing the wrong way out of turn 5. BTFU passes him. But Alex Bedo, he's on a hard charge. ZZ9 ahead of him. As Shenjie and Freeware, according to time tower, change places, but that is not the case. As another yellow flag, it is again Burke having some sort of trouble out of turn 11. And Zamas into the pit lane.
That is very interesting.
I don't think it's for a front wing change either.
Yeah, he went on the hard. I think he's maybe looking for a massive undercut.
Yeah, Mikau up the inside of Domi into turn 2. They're side by side. It's going to be Domi who has the inside line into turn 3, so he's able to hold on to P4. But he has slipped back massively to the Haas driver. Alex Bitter as well. ZZ9, these guys on the harder compounds of tyres. ZZ9 on the mediums. Alex on the hards. They're getting ready to pounce. They've caught Tim and Sever in the other Haas. He's currently defending 8th place. And we're on lap 3. So in 1 or 2 laps time, that's when you were saying that these tyres on those front runners are going to start going down. It's also worth mentioning, Remco Van Putten, I didn't realise, but he is on the medium compounded tyre. I believe he started this race in 11th place, I want to say.
It does seem like this race start has really worked out for Remco. On those mediums in P6. And right now I think he's the biggest threat all the way up to P1.
Yeah, as ZZ9, he's got past Tim and Sever into turn 1. So already we're starting to see these tyres start to get the advantage over their softer counterparts.
Also, Bito on those harder compound tyres has managed to keep up really well with the soft and medium runners in front of him, which could mean a lot towards the end of the race.
His pace very strong right now. We are clear of any safety cars in the opening laps, but Hungary, there's plenty of places that can just sort of catch a driver out and cause a safety car on your own, and even more so when the grid is tight and drivers are bunched up like they are between 11th and 16th. They're all in a grid. Fraser on those hards, he's already up into 16th place after the qualifying ban set him to the rear of this grid. Now, Mikau on the rear of Domi. He's going to look to try and get past the Williams again here. The Hungarian, it's his home race. They're both on the same tyres, but Mikau with DRS used a little bit of ERS as well, looking around the outside of the Williams driver. There is the Haas on the outside. but Domi seems to got an excellent drive out of that first corner. But Mikau still on his inside, down into turn 2. We saw Domi pull it through the inside of turn 3 last time, but it's not going to be the case this lap. He is down into 5th place. Team SF has managed to hold off Alex Biddo for another lap. This time, last lap we saw ZZ9 on the mediums pass him, but Team still in 9th place for the time being.
Yeah, those mediums are really making life easy for these medium runners. ZZ9 and Remco especially running in the top 10.
And there are a lot of tight gaps on this grid. Seb currently between the 2 racing points. He's on the hard compound tyres, as is Swifty J, the lead racing point, but Wisp behind them. He's on some mediums. I have to see if he can get past anyone here. Meanwhile, Alex Biddo, he is now about to try and look to put some pressure onto Tim and Sever. Shenjie hops into the pits. He's ready to go off the rubber. Alex Biddo up the inside of TMN. He is now up into 8th place. Ahead of them, you can see the likes of Mito and ZZ9. They're going wheel to wheel. ZZ9 picking another place up. A yellow flag in Sector 1. That's the Haas of TMN. He's into the wall. No damage, I don't think, on the Haas. So a spin from him. I'm not sure what caused it, but he is now down into 17th place. Likely going to pit this lap to get off of those soft compound tyres now. This midfield still in a battle as well. Swifty, Seb, Wisp still the Racing Point sandwich that Seb's in, but at the back of it now we got Fraser on the hard compound tyres. He's come to have a look to see what he can gain from these positional changes. Freer as well seems to have just sort of closed the gap to Ben just a little bit as Domi comes into the pit lane. I think Freeway's just going to be a little bit too far back to try and pull any moves, especially into turn 1 on Ben the Bear. Whether he can get an overtake done into the second turn, we'll have to wait and see. As Domi, approaching the pit exit, is down in 14th place, so
he's opted to go for those hards as well.
he had attempted one stop from the Hungarian in an attempt to win his home Grand Prix. Tiemann and Zamas. Tiemann stayed out, interestingly enough. Zamas on those fresh hards. He's got past around the outside. An excellent drive out of that first corner.
That undercut didn't really seem to work for Zamas.
Yeah, he's still a fair chunk of time behind. I don't know where he was in relation to Domi. I know he was behind him. I don't know what the gap was looking like. He's now 1.4 seconds behind him with 3 lap old harder tyres. So we'll have to see whether it plays a factor here, but I think it's going to be difficult for Zamas to recover from that early pit stop, but it all depends on safety cars to bring people back into the runnings. If we had a safety car at some point over the next lap, he might be able to gain some places back as Freeware and Mikkel. Yeah, both hopping into the pit lane. So right now, as Mito jumps into the pit lane as well, Ben the Bear still out leading this race on those hard, soft compound tyres that he started this race on. Everyone else behind him, they're on fresher, harder tyres that he was racing, or they're just on hard tyres that they started this race on. So Ben wouldn't be surprised to see him pit in this lap. Now, Domi, he came into the pit lane as well as Mikkel. Mikkel half a second behind him. I want to say Domi came in the lap prior, but the timing charts just they're all still on 0 lap old hards.
Yeah, Domi did come in the lap prior, and it did seem to get a bit of an undercut on Mikkel, as Mikkel had overtaken him on circuit on the previous stage. And it seems that all that works has come undone now.
Yeah, Ben the Bear into the pit as well. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Domi and Mikau, currently in 14th and 15th place.
I think his
Domi
biggest
just
challenger, Freeware, might actually overtake him through the pit lane. It seems that he will.
Yep, there's Freeway past the pit entrance. Ben the Bear coming out. Where's Domi? Domi just behind the Red Bull driver. So yeah, Ben now into 13th place, slotting in behind Freeway like you were saying.
Ben went for the soft tire. That is very interesting.
So he's really counting on a safety car while everyone's still in and amongst battles that they've been in since the start. A very unique strategy as Wisp up the inside of Seb into the chicane. I wasn't expecting to see the racing point pass there, but he's made it work. I don't think there was any contact either, so a nice clean overtake, and he's going to have a look at trying to get past his teammate now. He's on the mediums compared to these two on the hards, so we'll have to see whether that continues to play into his advantage or whether his tyres will become unusable quicker than the guy ahead and the guy behind. But Wisp right now up in 7th place as his teammate Swifty looking very closely at the rear of Money to try and squeeze past, and he's going to get that move done well before the corner. Freeway and Ben already passed Freeway, not too surprising given those soft compounds that he's elected to go for. Meanwhile, Swifty and Money, they're still going, and Money's not going to give up that easily. He's taken the position back through turn 2. As it appears Fraser has had an issue into the second turn, and he has dropped like a stone into 15th place, so he's making all these moves up and down the grid. But now he's been thrown back down it, whether there was contact. Stewards will have to have a look at that after the race. Ben, though, the traction he's got on these fresh softs is absolutely unparalleled to anything on circuit, and he's going to go around the outside of BTFU in the Williams. Through what I want to say.
After that spin in lap 1 seems to have recovered quite well.
Yeah, already back into the points. Yeah, most people behind him have pitted, with the exception of Fraser. Yeah, Ben really charging through this field right now. BTFU, he's under pressure from the other ex-front runner as Ben sets the fastest lap of the race at 17.5. Here goes Freeway then up the inside of the Williams driver of BTFU. And he has passed into 10th place. Not really a lot BTFU can do against these guys on the fresher compound tyres. Ben up the inside of Wisp. He takes another driver already on these soft compound tyres, and he's charging his way back through this field. And I wonder what his strategy decision is here. He can't use softs forever.
It is very interesting to see him go on the softs. Commit to the 2-stop.
Yeah, the drivers ahead of him, they're squabbling as well for position. It's Swifty and Seb there. Behind Money, Seb goes off and Ben is going to pounce. He's not going to miss up an opportunity like that. That leaves Seb down in 8th place and a little bit vulnerable as well to Wisp, who's already passed him once, I want to say. Now on the inside of turn 12, I saw him try and do this as he gets into the back of the Renault, who swerves on the track, damage on the front of the racing point. He's going to come in for presumably hards to the end and a new front wing. Seb coming in as well. Not what I expected to see, but Ben then going past Swifty into the inside of turn 1. Is he going to try and get Money as well? Seb's manually retired the car in the pit lane, I believe. But there's Money ahead of Ben the Bear. Is he going to go for another move? 2 moves in 2 corners it is. Ben up the inside of the Alfa Romeo and the racing point as well in the turn prior. So Ben really cutting his way through this field now, up already into P5. Obviously he was leading this race, started on pole, held pole, as Freeway picks up a 3-second time penalty as well as BTFU. So penalties will play a role in the end of this race.
Yeah, especially with looking at all these gaps, everything is so tight. There's so many DRS trains, and penalties will play a huge role.
Yeah, Ben has done well to already separate himself from that DRS chain there. You can see he's already 1.5 seconds clear of Money, who is in 6th place, and he's got the 2 Ferraris ahead of him. That's Bitto and Jake, and Alex Bitto in 3rd right now on those hards is looking in a very, very strong position to score some very nice points as Freeware gets a little bit squirrely out of the final turn. That's going to give Shenjay a look around the Alpha Tower. He's passed up into 8th place. Swifty with a little bit of a lock-up into the first corner, not going to get past Money. He's in between the 2 Alfa Romeos now, but yeah, Freeware, a little bit of an error coming out of the AlphaTauri driver on that last corner. And that's really cost his drive out of that and also lost him the position as well. As the 2 Williams, they're changing positions as well as Mikau looking around the outside of BTFU into turn 4. A little bit of a risky place to overtake, but he has got the move done nice and cleanly. It's always lovely to see these guys racing hard and making moves like that work because they are so tricky to pull off effectively. A lot of drivers, I'm seeing them driving wide through turn 11. Seems to be a few struggling with that corner. Now, Freeway, he'll be looking for revenge on Shenjie after his mishap around turn 14 last lap. Now, he's got DRS on the Alfa Romeo, but they're in the largest DRS chain on circuit right now. And Freeway's going to be left a little bit longing. He's not going to get past Shenjie through turn 1. Swifty's having a look at Money, but not getting the exit he needs. So far, these 4 cars staying in the same position, but Swifty a little bit wobbly through the second corner. That's left Shenjie trying to avoid him and open the door for Freeway, but he's not able to step through just yet. Through turn 4, they're all so close. One mistake could send all of them flying off into the walls, but they're keeping it clean. As of right now, into the chicane they go. They're still just clinging on to their positions. They're losing a little bit of time, though, to the cars behind, including Domi and Mikau, who are on those fresh tyres with Freeware. And also, to an extent, Shenjie, who seems to have a little bit come out of nowhere with what seems to be a minor undercut, as he's on 7-lap-old hards. As Mito seems to have an issue. Not Mito, sorry, it's Burke. He's still struggling, it would seem. He's been lapped by most of the drivers in this race as of right now. On board with this huge DRS train, who is going to be able to make any moves into the first corner? We've got Swifty. He's been overtaken by Shenjie, and Shenjie, he's holding no prisoners. He wants his teammate as well. He's looking around the outside of Money into turn 2. Swifty's losing out another position to Freeway. A little bit of contact between the two, and Swifty taps the inside wall. He's going to lose a lot of positions here. He is down into 11th out of the points, and if he's got damage as well, he might be a little bit vulnerable with Freeway. Now in 7th position, Shenjie got past Money, the other Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, that racing point has a end plate missing, the front left.
A lot of lag going on. Yeah, Swifty losing out to Zam, as you can see. Him struggling with the loss of downforce from that missing end plate. Something worth noting as well, Ben the Bear has closed down the gap to the 2 Ferraris ahead of him. He's getting ready to pounce, but yeah, he's coming in. Now, what is his strategy here? Mediums to the end, or is he going to go for hards and try and keep their pace? It's medium.
Now he has a very tall order to climb.
Yeah, the only advantage he's got going for him is that fresh mediums should be faster than the aging hards that a lot of his rivals are on. As Domi, Mikau, and BTFU are challenging each other down through turns 3 and 4. Domi right now in the lead of this train in 5th place. And Remco Van Putten is currently sitting on an 8-second lead to Alex Biddle. He is very comfortably going through this race. Alex Biddle as well, not looking too shabby himself. He's just ahead of his teammate, but he's on the hard compact tyres, so he is not going to have to pit for a long while here if he chooses not to. He could also just opt for some mediums whenever he really chooses to. As Remco comes into the pit lane, he is onto some fresh hards to go to the end in. It's interesting that he's gone for the hards of Ben. His teammate went for the mediums. Where was this going to throw Remco Van Putten back into the mix just behind this battle for what is now 4th place. And he is on the fresher version of the tyres that everyone else ahead of him, bar Jake, on those 16 lap old mediums is running. We also just have BTFU and Fraser. They're hopping out the pits on hards to go to the end, as well as Fraser on the mediums, sorry.
Swifty also did it for fresh set of mediums.
Yeah, so despite the safety car having not made an appearance so far in this race, whether it will or not, we'll have to wait and see, but still a fair few different strategies regarding the hards and the mediums, and even Ben dabbling with the use of soft compounds as well. He is in the points, he's in 10th right now. We'll have to see how those mediums fare at this stage of the race in terms of pace, as Jake comes into the pit lane getting off of his set of mediums after 17 laps. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Ben is able to climb, despite the fact that he does not really have the longevity that the hards would have provided him.
Yeah, this battle for P3 Unicorn, it seems that they've just been sitting there behind Domi. I think they've been getting a little too comfortable. And now Remco on those fresh hards is going to close up, and I think he's really going to light a fire behind them. Try pushing them along and basically get some overtakes going. It does seem that Mika has really been saving his battery for a rainy day here.
Yeah, and a rainy day it might just become. So far the clouds are looking clear, but if the forecast was accurate, we are going to see rain at the end of this race, and we've just come up to the halfway point. So we'll have to wait and see whether that comes into fruition here. As we are now on, Alex Biddle's just about to cross onto the 19th lap of this Grand Prix. He now has a 6.8 second lead. It'll be interesting to see whether he waits for the softs or whether he's going to come in a little bit sooner and try and do what Ben the Bear is trying to do right now in 9th place. Speaking of Ben the Bear, he is looking very closely at the gearbox of Zamas, and he's going to have a look up the inside into turn 2, and that is the Red Bull. Past the founder of the Misfits into P8. His teammate Remco Van Putten under a little bit of pressure from ZZ9, but he's happily situated in 6th right now, and he is going to be looking to try and get past these guys on older tyres than him and ZZ9. As well, I'm interested to see when Alex comes in as well, yet to pit up at the front of this grid. 18 lap old hards. The Ferrari stays out for yet another lap. He could go for, you know, another 10 or so and come out on some fresh softs and really show some pace at the end of this race. Again, he could just react to a safety car if we see one here this evening. So far, we've been safety car free, but it is going to be Remco Van Putten under a little bit of pressure from ZZ9 around the outside of turn 1. ZZ9 not in the position that he wants to be. Remco Van Buren, an excellent defensive driver. We've seen it time and time again, and now he's going to put on another display for us to show why he is deserving of that title. Freeware as well. He looks like he and Mikkel were having a little bit of a fight through turn 2. The pair of them a little bit more spaced out now after Mikkel run a little bit wide. But Mikkel not hanging around to try and re-catch up to the Alpha Tauri ahead of him. This battle for third right now is so tight. There's about 5 cars within it. Domi seems to be pulling away just a tiny bit from Freeware, and obviously Mikkel's just had that error. And is this the break that Domi needs to try and at least get another podium around his own Grand Prix? Whether we'll see a second win for him at the Hungaroring, that's yet to be decided, but it is Alex Biddo in lead of this race. Shenjie in second place. Domi rounds out the top 3. Then we have Freeware and Mikkel, who are going to go into turn 1 pretty close together. Freeware a little bit deeper than Mikkel, but he's going to hold on, but Freeware has not got the exit he needs at all, and that's a retirement. His car has bounced heavily off of that inside wall and is now out of this race. I would be surprised if the positioning of that car doesn't cause a safety car. He's already got rid of it, but
yeah, that
no
was
safety car.
surprising. There was no safety car for that. It seems that Freeware just spun up his tires on the exit and just sent the car just went straight into the wall.
Yeah, I don't know whether he deployed ERS early, a mistake that can be costly, but now out of this race, and that gives the likes of Mikkel, Remco a chance to score more points if they had stayed the same. Otherwise, also you can see these clouds, they're starting to grow in numbers, grow in size, and darken in colour as well. So I think that rain that was forecast is about to hit in the next few laps, and we'll have to see whether it gets heavy enough, whether the track gets wet enough to force these drivers to switch onto the intermediate tyres. As Finn, the other AlphaTauri, he's had an issue in turn 5. He's just rejoining the track. There's only damage on his car. He is missing a lot of that front right wing. So yeah, the sky's now really darkening in Hungary, and this could inject some, or a lot, even more strategy into this race at the tail end of it.
The telemetry does show us that the rain is going to come in between 5 to 10 minutes. There is definitely going to be rain. Now, as for the track conditions and how much water we are going to get, that is going to be very interesting to watch.
Well, 5 to 10 minutes leads to what, about anywhere between 2 to 7 laps of rain, I guess. If everything there is accurate in, my head calculations, but Ben has caught up to this train of drivers who are battling for what is P3, and he is on these medium compound tyres. He's gone. Well, he would usually have to see them through to the end, but if this rain, is hard enough, and we do see people have to go to intermediate, as Domi is very wide through the third corner, and that's going to leave him a bit vulnerable to Remco Van Buren, who looks up the inside into turn 4. He's not going to. Finn's retired after a catastrophic lap, it would seem. He is too far behind, he thinks, to recover, but Ben looking on the inside of ZZ9 into the chicane, not going to make the move there. Remco still pressuring Domi a lot for P4 as well. The two Red Bulls right now are charging Remco. He's having a real look at Domi's gearbox right now. Not finding a way past Domi, a little bit wide out of 11. That's going to give Remco a good run into 12. Up the inside goes the Red Bull, but he's not able to carry the speed that the Williams is around the outside. So Remco still in 5th place. A little bit of a slide as well around the penultimate corner, and that puts ZZ9 right behind him. And Domi's coming to the pits. What is he going on to? Unless he has damage from earlier incident, but ZZ9 at the inside of Remco Van Putin. The Red Bull around the outside, looking to try and get switched. Almost has a contact with his teammate. Domi is on to some fresh mediums. An interesting decision for him. I don't think that there was any time for a front wing change in there. Wisp has had a spin out of the penultimate corner. He spun yesterday around the final corner, but this time the Racing Point is coming into the pits. 10-lap-old Harty's probably going to go on to some mediums like we just saw. Domi, who is now down in 13th place, so he's really been chucked out a little bit further down this grid than he probably hoped for. Also worth noting, Alex Biddo still yet to pit, so whether he's holding out to see when this rain starts to fall, how heavy it's going to be, or whether he's just going to stick to what I presume is now going to be a switch onto soft compound tyres if he can get his current set of boots another 3 or 4 laps. Two Red Bulls, they're still charging. ZZ9 ahead of them on a very similar strategy to Remco, but Ben still on the mediums. They should have the pace advantage still, just by a hair's whisker compared to the 2 cars in front, but they are going to start to lose their edge. And Shenjie seems to be closing the gap to the race leader of Alex Biddo as well right now. So a lot happening on track right now here at the Hungaroring.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what Alex Biddo is going to do. If he's going to pit for some slicks, he has to do it now. He opts to stay out for another lap.
He's really pushing those hard tyres to the end. You can see Shenjie now is really starting to close that gap to him. He's still just out of DRS range, and both DRS zones share the same detection point, so he won't get it even if he was within that 1 second down the second one if he didn't have it in the first. But Alex Biddo really just trying to grab everything out of those tyres, and is it worth it losing this time that he is right now to the car behind?
It is very interesting. Ooh, as we have a yellow flag, there's a car off. Sector 2. It seems it's the car of Wisp.
Yeah, still having issues it would seem. Fraser just got past BTFU into turn 1 and holds on to the place through turns 2 and 3. But yeah, Wisp on fresh softs now has a lot of front wing damage.
Yeah, he's going to have to pit again. Get a new wing for himself.
And it's really starting to look like the skies are ready to open up and start putting some water on this track. And Shenjie is still behind Alex Biddo, who is yet to pit. Has closed the gap by about 5 or 6 tenths. Now has DRS on the Ferrari, who is on aging tyres. Is he going to be able to squeeze past for the race lead here? Not through turn 1. I don't think he's close enough for turn 2 as Wisp has retired. I believe
we have
that's
some
him
rain
retiring
coming
in the
down.
pit lane. We do indeed. The rain has started. You are correct. Is this the moment Alex Biddo has been waiting for? Has he just been anticipating this rain this entire time?
Well, if he's going to wait for some inters, he will have to stay out for another 4 or 5 laps on those tires.
Yeah, he is really running a fine line right now between trying to keep it a 1-stop and also just losing obscene amounts of time to Shenjie behind. Is this weather going to get bad enough to warrant intermediate tyres? We've got 7 or 8 laps left in this race, depending on where these drivers are out on track. Alex Biddo rounding the final corner to start lap 28 of 35. Then the Bear, on the other hand, he's got much closer to his teammate Remco Van Putten, but he's not getting the drive out of the final corner he needs. Remco's got DRS on ZZ9 ahead, but it is going to be Ben the Bear up the inside of his teammate. They're still side by side though, and Remco defends around the outside and clings on to 5th place for the time being. Two Williams as well. Domi on fairly fresh medium compound tyres is just behind BTFU. He's got DRS. Fraser just up ahead on much older medium compound tyres. Is looking at the rear of Mito, trying to get away past the McLaren through turns 1 and 2. But this rain is still coming down. It looks like it's going to be fairly persistent towards the end of this race. But is the track going to get wet enough to warrant those intermediate tyres? Is Alex Biddo going to be able to come in for greens, as Domi, getting an excellent drive out of 5, is going to put himself right next to his teammate through the chicane, and BTFU having to slow down. Domi picks up a 3-second time penalty. What is he going to go on for? Is he coming in for inters, which could be very problematic? Everyone behind him coming in. Shenjie, the only one who's staying out right now. It is
this could be very interesting.
Nikau coming in for inters as well. Remco. Ben's going to get double stacked. And he's coming for fresh mediums? What is he doing? DRS has just been disabled. Is that a mistake by the Red Bull driver? As Jake seems to have had an off.
No, definitely the track has now gravitated towards the inters. The green tire is now going to be the fastest tire on the track.
Yeah, you can see Alex Biddo is just bearing down on Zamas. He's got so much more grip. Shenjie might lose out a fair amount of time as well. Alex Biddo has played this absolutely beautifully. As I say that, he picks up a 3-second time penalty. He eases past Zamas through turn 5 behind them as well. Jake struggling as Mikhail passes him. But yeah, why has Ben gone onto the mediums if that has to have been a mistake? Otherwise, he's made a catastrophic error as he's retired.
He's retired. He knows he made a mistake. Oh, he spun off.
I think he's crashed out of turn 4.
Yeah, that's a safety car.
That might be Shenjie saving great. No, it's not, because he spun it out of the penultimate turn.
Ooh, no,
that's race ending. He's going to get put out right behind all of these guys who are coming through. This now, Alex Biddo, his strategy worked so well up until this point, but all his hard work has just been undone by Ben the Bear, causing this late safety car on lap 30 of the MRL Club Division Hungarian Grand Prix. And we're going to have, what, maybe 2-3 laps of green flag racing here. We're not going to have DRS, obviously, even if we didn't have the safety car. But this has become very interesting.
A safety car restart in the wet. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, especially with the turn 1. And also the run down to turn 2 as well. Obviously no DRS. Still, it's just a big old straight line. And the difference between a safety car restart and a standing start, they're going to be going as fast as they can, pretty much, as they come across the line. Whereas the standing start, obviously, they'll be going very slowly as they start the race. But here we go. We are under safety car conditions for the first time in this race. 30 laps in.
By not pitting, that has cost Shenjie 4 positions.
Yeah, whether he would have beaten Alex Biddo, yeah, probably would have. If he'd have come in that lap ago, he would have been about second, I reckon. So
Yeah, but those
it
hearts
was a
were having
gamble.
none of it in those conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though he weren't as old as Alex is, he stayed out too long, and it's the price he pays. He's in 5th place, though. He's on the same compound of tyres everyone else. Rain, the great equaliser, as they say, has done exactly that. Equalised the level playing field. Everyone on the same compound of tyre, pretty much identical age. And it's just going to be these guys doing this to the end. Once the safety car comes in, it might come in. It can be called in late on this track, so if Swifty can catch up quickly enough, it might come in this lap, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it go through 32 as well, which would lead us to have 3 laps of green flag racing. So we're going to have 3 or 4 laps. Over's 1 lap, but we're going to have 3 or 4
I
laps.
think the pack will catch up by the end of this lap. Safety car be called in.
Yeah, absolutely. And here, it's going to be such an interesting last, hopefully, 4 laps of racing with no DRS. Everyone will have a full battery, though. And here we go. We have got Alex Bido in lead of this race. He leads Mikau, who is ahead of ZZ9, Remco Van Putten, Shenjay down in 5th, Zamas in 6th place, Jake in 7th, Mito in 8th, Domi in 9th place at his home Grand Prix. Fraser, he's climbed from the rear of this grid after a qualifying ban into 10th place. At the moment, Money in 11th, BTFU in 12th, and Swifty is the last runner in 13th. The retirements, we've had Ben, Wisp, Finn and Freeway, the 2 AlphaTauris, Tim and Seba, Burke and Seb in dead last. So 7 drivers out of this race. Safety car is coming in this lap. And Alex Bido is getting ready to restart this race. He's had such a good performance here so far. His tyre strategy has been absolutely incredible. This sort of undoes his work a little bit, but he's still in lead of this race from fairly far down on the grid. I believe he started 13th. There we go then. When is this Ferrari going to hammer down? There's already a gap between Zamas and Shenjay. Alex still holding off, but there he goes. He has gone. Remco very close to ZZ9, but not as close as Shenjay is to him. Shenjay not hanging around. He wants to gain as many places late on the brakes, up the inside of not only Remco, but ZZ9 as well. And Shenjay up to 3rd, but he's had contact with the Red Bull of Remco, who's now down into 9th. That's Zamas up into 4th. He's side by side with ZZ9 going into turn 3. We've got Domi up the inside. He is now in 5th place, but he's going to go around the outside of ZZ9 through turn 3. Up at the front, Bito and Mikau are gone. They're absolutely flying ahead of the rest of the pack. But you can see the rest of these guys, Shenjay and Remco, have really struggled on this restart. It hasn't been great for ZZ9 either. Shenjay, though, he's not stopping. He's going to try and go up the inside of Jake into the chicane. Not going to work out for him. And these wet conditions really
Wet conditions really making it hard to get those move downs, and just being a little bit more eager can cost you.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that from particularly Shenjay's perspective. He's trying to make up for that slight strategic error and that spin as well. He would have been much better off if he hadn't spun on that in-lap for the pits, but it's Alex Bido and Mikau in lead of this race. Mikau still within striking distance of the Ferrari. And also penalties as well are going to play a much larger role than they would have done previously, because now everyone's close enough that penalties can play a much larger role, whereas everyone was spaced out. Now everyone is so bunched up on this grid, and penalties that people have got.
That Mikau does not have any penalties in the top 5.
Now that is going to be very beneficial for the Australian in this race, and he might be able to snatch a win if everything goes his way. But Alex Bido seems to have found some pace here in the wet weather conditions. Domi as well, still on for a podium around his home track. No massive incidents that have caused anyone to pit off of the racing, of the safety car restart.
Domi is carrying 9 seconds of penalties to Zamis' 6, sorry. 6
well,
for Zamis and 9 for Domi.
yeah, I think that 6 seconds has just come in because Zamis has literally just added another 3-second penalty to his repertoire.
That's
so
9 for Zamis, actually.
Well, there we go then. That equalises the playing field between these two. We'll have to see
So
about
now everything's in play
everyone
for Domi.
This grid is so bunched up right now. Anyone could finish in the points. There's only 3 non-point scoring positions left on this track. And that last one is being squabbled over a fair amount. BTFU looking around Mito. We've got Shenjie and Jake as well. Mito up the inside of BTFU. They're side by side coming out of turn 1. Shenjie still behind Jake. Mito still in 9th place. Shenjie looking around the outside of Jake into turn 2. That gives him the inside into the 3rd turn. And he takes the position away from him. BTFU was wide out of turn 3, and that's let Swifty around the outside through turn 4, but he's gone wide. They're still side by side through the 5th turn. Where is Swifty? There he is. He has got the drive he needed out of turn 5, and he is up into 10th place, that final point scoring position. Remco as well. He's still on a hunt for some decent points here. He's in 8th position. Everyone just trying to take it careful in these wet conditions. Obviously you want to gain as many places as you can as we're about to come on to the final lap of this race, but got to be a bit careful. These wet conditions are really making the track slippery on an already difficult to overtake on track. As you can see, Remco just really struggling with the conditions right now, sliding all over the place through the final sector. But Alex still leading this race. Whether Mikau is going to have to remain penalty clean and take the win here. It's all down to this final lap for the leaders and the podium, as well as everyone else, and how many points they score.
There is only one other driver that has no penalties in this grid, and that is Shenjie.
That's very interesting. So despite his blunder, he could still score a lot of points here, especially with Domi and Zamis on 9 seconds of penalties, and Shenjie within 3 seconds of ZZ9. Shenjie could still see himself on the podium at the end of this race.
Yeah, does seem like so.
So here we go then, into the final sector for the leaders, and Zamis has had a huge off. He is spinning in the grass. No damage on the Renault, but it's not going to matter. He is going to be pretty much last. He's going to enter the track behind Fraser, I imagine. There goes the Mercedes. And that really opens the door for everyone else to score some points. And it opens up that final slot on the podium as well. A little bit more for Shenjie, but it's Alex Biddo who crosses the line first. Mikau takes the win though, down to penalties. Domi crosses 3rd. Shenjie gets promoted into that final penalty position. And on the line, we've got ZZ9 and Remco Van Putten. Remco Van Putten still getting demoted to 6th though, I think, because of penalties. But Swifty in 7th place. He's been promoted fairly heavily, I think, with penalties. We'll have to see on the race director after this race. But it is Mikau who wins the Hungarian Grand Prix. There's Fraser getting driver of the day after starting at the back of this grid. We'll have to see what we're looking like on the podium, but there he is. That is Mikau taking the win here in the MRL Club Division Hungarian Grand Prix. He is joined on the podium by Alex Biddo. Excellent display of tyre strategy. Shenjie as well. Maybe he could have been on the top spot had he done what Alex Biddo did and pitted at the same time. Penalty free, still helping to get onto the podium at the end though. Here are the rest of the standings. Mikau takes the win. Alex Biddo and Shenjie on the podium. Domi is home Grand Prix, 4th on this standings. ZZ9 in 5th. Remco Van Putten in 6th. Swifty with only 6 seconds of penalties in 7th. BTFU as well, he got promoted into 8th. Jake and Fraser ran out the final scoring positions. Fraser as well taking the extra point for fastest lap. Then behind them we have Mito, Zamus who had that last lap spin, and Money rounds out the finishes in 13th. Then we have Ben, Wisp, Finn, Freeware, Tim and Seba, Burke and Seb rounding out those who did not finish this race. There are all the tyre strategies for the top 14. You can see the intermediates coming on for everyone at the end. Here's the incident list as well. We can see all the warnings, etc., penalties. And there are a lot of warnings here. We're going to have to scroll through these pretty quickly to get them all done before this drops off. And there we have it. Yoda, thoughts on that race? How that went? And the rain at the end, providing a very interesting perspective, as well as that safety car caused by Ben. Well, that was the MRL Club Division Hungarian Grand Prix. Thank you very much for watching. We usually stream this on the MRL Twitch channel, which
Apparently,
links...
I had my mic muted, Unicorn.
Oh, there we go. I was wondering. There we go. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah.
We'll do the outro.
Very, very interesting race. That late safety car really threw a spanner into that race. Biro really had a good strategy to come from where he came all the way up to P2 and finishing P1 on track, actually. It was a very good performance for him. Mick taking that win, keeping it clean, keeping his head in check. And yeah, very good results for those guys. And Chenjay just keeping it clean, no warnings, no penalties. Managed to snatch that podium from underneath everyone.
I really think Mika and Shenja, they're proving like how valuable it is to keep yourself penalty free, not pick up anything that can add to it. Because that's what happens when you get a late safety car. It really affects how the finishing table looks, because everyone's so much closer together, and those penalties really come into play much more impactful on the final results. But like I was saying before we had the microphone mute issue, thank you for watching. Usually, like I said, we'd stream it on Twitch. Link should be in the description, so go throw us a follow on the MRL Twitch channel, where we're live most days, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, most Saturdays as well.